Well, good morning, everybody. It's been a minute since I've been on here. I would love it's kind of like a reuniting with family. I see V on here. I see like people that just show up every single day. What I've been doing the last couple of days is listening to the AI powers that I've missed over the last few weeks as we've been a little busy. We've been a little busy. But now, as we start to, get through this transition that we were in, now we get to transition into a whole different animal, and we'll be sharing that really soon with everybody. We've got new marketing systems coming out that are powered by AI that have been built over the last 3 months or so, that are now finally coming to fruition. And you're going to be seeing a lot of that very soon, just to make things simpler and easier for you to do. If you're in an appropriate area, feel free to put on your video. If you're not in an appropriate area, we'll make sure that your video goes off real quickly. But again, my name is James Lenhart. I am the VP of Marketing here at Vital Health, also a Green Diamond. And the topic for today, how I always choose these topics whenever I come on here, is I look back at what I'm working on. One of the secrets to personal growth is trying to teach what you're working on. You can teach what you're really good at. You can teach, I've mastered this skill, I've mastered this mindset. You can teach what you've mastered. But if you really want to grow, dig into some topics that you're like, you know what, I got to really improve on that. And so that's what I did today. And really, what we're going to talk about today is something that hits home for me, so it might hit home for you a little bit too, because it really is. If you encompass all the things that I believe really look towards what is a leader. I think people put that on titles on people, and we do that a lot in this industry as well, where we're like, oh, that person's that rank, and that person's this rank, and this person is the top enroller, and this person, all these different things, but you don't see the journey that took them to get there, and you kind of assume of how it happened or what they did to do it, and all these different things. And a leader is not a title. A leader is it's a mindset. It's how you show up. It's how people feel about you. It's about the influence that you can have. It really is not a title. And it's challenging when you're in an industry that values titles. It values, this is, you want to get to here. And you can kind of feel like if you don't get to there in a certain period of time, you go, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this isn't for me because it took that person this time and it's taken me longer, and all these different things. And so that's kind of what I want to dive into today a little bit. And the topic is really, really simple, but I also feel very complicated at the same time. I think people can have different perspectives and different ways of looking at it. And of course, different experiences they've gone through. And you might go through this and say, that's not true, that's not me, or that happened to me, and that was a bad thing, and I can't believe I made it through that. And so we're gonna maybe unwrap that a little bit today. There's a great book out there that's on this title, but I didn't even like really reference that book. But after I kind of went through it and started digging into like who's the expert at this topic, this person came up. And so if you want to go look up ownership online, you could do that. That's what we're going to be talking about today, is the power of ownership. And when you hear the word ownership, you think of the things that might be, I own my house, or I own my business, or I own the clothes that I'm wearing. We take ownership of possessions and we're like, okay, these things are mine. But here's the thing, they can be taken away like that. People can be taken away, things can be taken away, everything can be taken away. And maybe you've experienced that in the past, whether it was maybe a death in the family, maybe it was financial demise, and an overcoming of that. Ownership comes with these thoughts of either I have it or I don't have it. And I want to challenge that perspective today, because one of the things that we all know, that no matter what your religious beliefs are and spiritual beliefs, whatever they are, when we are done here, we don't get to take any of that stuff. Now, maybe back in the day, they had religions and things like that. They the Egyptians would bury things in the tomb and things like that. People are like, oh, they're gonna take all their riches with them. I don't think that's true. I don't think you get to be like, yeah, accumulate all this stuff while I'm here. And then when I pass, I get to take my stuff with me. Because trust me, you probably don't want to take your stuff. You want to start anew and you want to be reborn in a way into whatever you believe is next after this life. So that's the topic we're going to talk about today because ownership is really, it's really like a mirror. It's not something you possess. So when you think about, when I say, what do you own? You really own the wins in your life, the mistakes, the challenges, the missed opportunities, the gained opportunities. And when you own everything like that, not things or people, you can really change anything. One of my favorite mentors of all time that I still listen to the CDs over and over and over again, I could probably recite it word for word, is Jim Rohn. And one of my favorite things about Jim Rohn, it's so specific to our industry, yet it goes through everything in our life and it always sticks out to me because how we view people that we bring into a business like this, where people will go and somebody will come in your business and be like, wow, they're going to do amazing. I want them to be a rock star. But they have limitations. They have beliefs. They have obstacles they have to overcome. There's a journey they have to go through. And we tend to try to get the 30 percenters to do 40% or 50% or 60% or 100%. You're like, why won't this person just do more? It's not about them doing more. It's not about them going and enrolling more people and hitting the ranks. It's not about them. Our rewards plan doesn't even reward that really in a certain way. It really rewards people for going and doing the work themselves and finding the people that want to do the same thing. And it really comes down to ownership because ownership it can feel heavy. Like I think when you enroll a new person in this business, you're like, okay, this is my baby. I got to take care of it. I got to protect it. I got to make sure it shows up to every single call. And oh my gosh, if they don't, I failed as a leader. If leaders could fail, if leaders couldn't fail, there would be none of them. And so taking that role on of what are you owning with people you enroll, with the team that you have, with what you're doing, not inside the company, but outside the company. Because that's why we talk about personal growth is so important here in this type of industry, because who you are out there is who you'll be in here. I think in this industry we treat the industry like a little bubble. We're like, oh my gosh, V, he's so famous. He's a rock star. He's a triple, quadruple diamond, and everyone knows him. No, no one knows who V is. It's not a fame thing. It's not like, they know who they are here, but not out there. And so when you think about how you want to be in this company, how do you show up with ownership outside the company? Do you own your kids? Do you go, oh my gosh, man, they're not succeeding because of me? Or is it your spouse? This relationship isn't working, because they're not doing what they need to do. What's the ownership you're taking? Because look outside the bubble and you'll be able to understand what's going on inside your business. Because that's really what ownership comes down to. Because ownership, I'm gonna have a couple points here, some examples, some ideas that we can like maybe go into the world today and alter. But number one is when you grasp ownership, that's where true transformation comes. Back in the day, I'm always growing and changing and trying to improve as best I can. But back in the day, before I entered into the personal growth world, I thought it was a bunch of fluff. I thought people were crazy. What are you standing on your chairs? That's silly. I don't need to read a book. I was making a lot of great money as a dog trader. I was like training dogs. I owned 50 dogs. I owned 50 dogs at one time. But I actually learned that when I trained dogs, because one of the things I used to do is I used to go to the pound. It was part of the last year of training to be a master trainer. I would go down to the pound every week. I would go, which dog are you putting down this week? I would take that dog and I would train them. I'd bring them to my home. I had 50 dogs at one time, bring them to the home, train them, and I'd find another owner. And people are like, wow, that's cold. How can you give away a dog? I don't give away a dog. Dogs don't, you don't own dogs, just like you don't own people. And if you feel that way about your dog, you're like, no, my dog is mine, and it can't do anything wrong, and it's my baby. That I'm not saying, but it might leak into other parts of your life. If you look at your spouse and you go, that's my spouse, and they'll never leave. I'll never lose them. It's possible that you might, because you're putting ownership on them instead of yourself. And so when you think about what this means, it really comes down to control. And put in the chat, put a one in the chat if you've ever felt like you didn't have control of something. But I can't control this circumstance. I can't control what's going on. I've lost control, or maybe I've had control and then I lost it. You ever felt like that, where control was something that you lost? Well, I'm gonna challenge that paradigm, because you can't lose anything. You can't lose something. It's not yours. The only thing that's yours is you. It's what God gave you. It's like this is it. It might be boring. It might not be what you want. You might want it to be completely different. Maybe you want to be 6'9" like V is. I look up to him every time I go to him. I look up to him. Maybe you want to be skinny and be able to fit into a bathing suit better. Maybe you want better skin or longer hair or curly hair. I love when women have curly hair and they straighten. I'm like, "Man, let those curls fly. That's who you are. Let's curl it up. Be who you are," because when you own who you are, that's where power is. When you own who you are and you own, okay, I didn't take action, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, not feeling bad about it, but just taking that ownership of it. Because the moment you stop blaming things like this, and blaming is a Q word, a very important word, because when you stop blaming circumstances, your past, your leader, your team, the timing, the tech, the enrollment that didn't show up, the thing that didn't work, whatever it is, and you go, okay, whatever the reason being, I have to own why that's happening. And that's probably one of the toughest cookies to crack, because I know people have had horrible things happen to them. I mean, I can't even list all the horrible things, whether it's disease, whether it's a circumstance, whether it's a loss of a family member. There's so many more horrible things. I mean, the horrible things that we deal with in the United States ain't the horrible things that they deal with outside the United States. And so if you ever want to get an idea of what real ownership is, go overseas a little bit. See how that's different. I always come back when I'm overseas and I'm like, I'm never watching TV again. I'm never looking at social media, because it puts things into perspective. Because in other countries, the only thing they can own, and sometimes they don't even own that, is themselves. They're not allowed to own things. They're not allowed to have things around them. And so, when you think about this, it comes down to control and responsibility. So number one is ownership is where transformation begins. Number two is interesting to kind of look through, because there's two sides of this, right? And we've already touched on a little bit, but what do you actually own and what do you not own? One basket, like when we put them in baskets, right? If I had two baskets next to me, I said, all right, these are the things you own and these are the things you don't. Can you accept that? And sometimes it's really hard to accept that. So let's go through the positive ones first, because I always like to start on positivity first. Is what do you own? You own your attitude is number one. We talk about that attitude of gratitude. Your attitude will determine your altitude. All these fun key phrases that we use all the time. But your attitude is the thermostat of everyone around you. And if you adjust it, everyone around you can adjust. And that's a true, a true sign of leadership, that in the face of adversity, who's the one that's the calm in the storm? Who's the one that will say, I'll stand up and do it? Who's the one that'll say, hey, let's go do this together and I'll lead the way? Because remember, it's not about doing it yourself. I tend to slip into that a lot. It's not about doing it yourself. It's about doing it with other people. One of my other mentors early in my life was Art Williams from Primerica. And I always remember how he used to sign all the letters in his company. Let's go do this. It was all about let's go do this. Me and I never really entered into his realm. It was always about we, let's, us. Because you think about this, maybe you have a slow week, right? And you've got two different types of people. They'll either go and complain and go, man, this person didn't follow up with me. I couldn't get my leader on the line. So the three-way call fell through. I just couldn't make it work this week. Or you have the other one goes, all right, slow week. Strategize. What did I do? What could I have done better? What will I do this week? It's a completely different mindset, but it's very, very simple to fall into the one of blaming because, again, that's kind of how we're programmed. We're programmed with these defensive mechanisms in our body that try to make it where it's not our fault. We try to make it to where, because we are creatures of community, we're creatures that crave being around other people because that's how we thrive in this world, right? We don't thrive by ourselves. The reason that we are the people that we are is because we were meant to be inside of communities. If you threw me in the Sahara Desert by myself, I ain't gonna last very long. But if we have a group of us, might be able to figure it out and get through it together. But me, myself, and I'm gonna perish real quickly. Number two is your decisions. Ooh, it's a hard one. It's a hard one because this is the sum of all your choices. I was talking with somebody at dinner 2 nights ago, and their daughter had asked them, "Hey, Dad, would you do anything different?" And he's like, "No." And yes, if I could have a time machine, it might be different. But the answer is no, because all of those decisions, whether good, bad, and different, I didn't make them, I did make them, whatever they are, it got me to where I am today, and it's formed me into that person. So your decisions to show up on this call, share this call, have people show up on the events at night, get on Vital Academy, do the action steps every day, reaching out to people. Those are all decisions that you make. If you reach out to two people today and two people don't answer you, whose fault is that? Is that your fault that the two people didn't answer you? Or is it your fault that you didn't go talk to 50 people and then two people answered you? It's always about that ownership of really what you're doing on a daily basis. Your actions and inactions kind of go along with decisions, but this is where you do follow up. This is where it's not a lack of luck, because I think that a lot of people think there's luck involved in this industry. I feel there's no luck, even if it's a timing thing or I met this one person and they came into your business and they blew up, and you're like, wow, that was luck of timing. I don't think so. I think maybe you had been preparing for that moment, and either you react to that moment or you respond to that moment in a certain way, but everything's there for you. Number four is your habits. Those are going to predict your paycheck. What you're doing every day, and this is one of the reasons why I did this today, because my habits over the last 2 to 3 months have not been so good. I've put on some weight. I have not gone outside. I have not done grounding. I have not worked out. I have not prospected a lot. I have not gone after numbers because literally I'm just sitting in front of a computer for 12 hours a day. Another excuse. That's a decision. That's an action. I can get up and go move like I did this morning for 30 minutes and do those things and actions that need to be done, or I don't do them. So it's not my fault. I can't be like, the reason that I haven't worked out and I've gained some weight, it's just because of I'm working so hard. It's not, dude. It's 30 minutes. Shut off your phone and go run, go walk on the treadmill. Number five is communication, which I think is huge, which is something that I think we're all working on all the time. But communication is also about having a hard conversation that could potentially create a negative outcome and having that to create alignment because people are going to align or they're not going to align. And that's up to them, not up to you. Your effort, are you putting the effort out? Like if you're a person on here that goes, I'm gonna go diamond, baby. I'm gonna do it in 30 days. Well, you better be talking to 100 people or more a day. And you go, I got 100 people? What are you crazy? I don't have time for that. Then maybe you should go, I'm gonna go diamond in 90 days. Take ownership of that time. And it's not a bad thing or a good thing if you don't have the time. You either got to carve out the time, you got to extend your goals a little bit, create expectations for yourself that you can actually do versus putting something lofty out there and watching it not happen. Your responses to challenge, your self talk, these are all things that you own. So let's go through this other list. What you don't own. You don't own other people's actions. You don't own other people's opinions. You don't own other people's work ethic. One of the biggest things I see in this industry is we use these words my, me, and I a lot because it goes, okay, this is my team. These are my people. The last time, I don't think you own anybody. You own yourself. These are people that are along with you on the journey of their own life. So unless someone comes in your business and they sign some contract and you become married to them, or there's a business partnership and they, prick their finger and they put it on in blood that James, now that I've been sponsored by you, you now own my life and everything around it, that if I fail, then it's all your fault. If we didn't sign that contract, which I don't think I ever did, then it's not true. It's their own perspective. It's a volunteer army. We don't have the reason we have ranks is to show milestones, not to show ownership. You don't get to a rank and go, okay, this is my diamond team now. All right. But your diamond team could disappear real quick. Don't take long. I've seen it happen. There's lots of shiny objects out there. If you get complacent and go, all right, I'm in a good spot now. I could get off the break. Another one by Art Williams. He was always asked, when people got to a certain point in their business, they go, Art, when can I stop? And he goes, not yet. Well, can I stop now? Nope, not yet. And you look at like Jeff Bezos and you look at, people like all these, whether you believe it or not, they never stop. And that's if you want to accomplish something massive. If you're looking to accomplish something here that is life changing and legacy creating. And when I say legacy creating, I don't mean being at this company for 20 years. I think that's what people think of this like, no, plant my flag and I'm never going anywhere for 20 years. Okay, you could do that. But when you plant your flag, the reason that you want to do that is because that allows you to get to a point that generates enough income for you that you can turn that money into a legacy. And what might you be here for the next 20 years and create a legacy business here and pass it on to your children and all that kind of stuff? Yeah, sure. But why don't you use the profit that's coming from this and turn that into a legacy? A couple other things that you don't own, and we'll wrap up here in a couple minutes, is the timing of results. I love the idea that people, they say they ghosted me. I don't get ghosted. I never get ghosted. Now, people might not respond to me for 2 years, but I never get ghosted because as long as that chat is open, I'm not blocked, we're connected in some way, shape, or form, you're not ghosted. Because I've had people that have not messaged me for years. And then all of a sudden they come out of the woodwork and they're like, James, what you doing? I'm like, oh, hi, what are you doing? And it goes from there. But I didn't get ghosted. Biggest thing you can't control this is who quits or joins. If somebody comes to you and they're like, ah, Ethan, I don't think this is working out for me, man. I think I'm gonna go in a different direction. I don't like how, I really thought this would grow bigger than I thought it would. I enrolled the person and they went to my left instead of my right. And man, it took like 3 days to change that. Man, you know what? I just don't think this is gonna work out for me. I'm gonna go and do XYZ. Now, what some people might do is go, hold on, man, hold on, man. Let me get my upline on the phone and let's fix this right now. And oh my, here's what I do. I go, hey man, where are you going? I haven't decided yet. All right, man, wherever you decide to go, just know I'm going to support you. And if it's a product based company or a service based company, man, I'd love to support it and help you out. What? What? So who? Aren't you going to fix my problems? Hey, go listen to this thing on ownership on AM Power, and maybe we'll talk after that. Because again, that's them putting it on Aethon. It's Aethon's fault that things aren't happening, brother. It's not. If that were true, no one would become a leader because it's never the leader's fault. It's the team's. It's how the team is operating and all these different things. Because people, oh, I have a bad leader, or I have a bad upline, or they did this, or they did that, or whatever it is. I've seen in this industry. People that are making a ridiculous amount of money. And I go, how in the world are they doing that? I wouldn't follow them. I wouldn't join them, but it's not about that. It's about whatever they're doing to create that, not my perspective of how they're doing it. It doesn't matter. I don't pay their bills. They do. So here's why it matters in our industry so much as we wrap up here. Your business is really a garden. It is a garden. That's what it is. Jim Rohn always talked about, you don't control the wind, you only control the setting of the sail. Another way to put it. But your business is a garden. You don't control the weather. If you've ever been a farmer, which I haven't, but I've heard things. If you've ever been a farmer, you're going to have droughts. You're going to have heavy rains. You're going to have crows. You're going to have pesticides. You're going to have people not show up to work. You're going to have all these different things. But if your garden isn't growing, it's not the seed's fault. It's the gardener's ownership of planting and watering and pruning and caring for the land. Because somehow people that garden and people that farm get through bad times. And it wasn't because of anything else about what they did and how they managed that land as they were getting through those times. As this is a huge thing, how to forgive yourself for times you didn't take ownership. So this is a little bit of an action step for you to do today. Write down a couple times, maybe just three. I'm sure you could write down 1,000, just like me, because this is what I did. Is write down, what's the time that you didn't take ownership and acknowledge it without shame and go, okay, I didn't take ownership of that. I'm going to own it now. It's mine. Extract the lesson from what that was and what was the experience. What did it teach me? Did I grow from it? Did I learn how to maybe manage my emotions better? Do I look back at that and go, okay, I could have done that differently? And here's one of the hardest parts, and this is one of the things I learned being around Tony Robbins for 6, 7 years, intimately, trips, all this kind of stuff, is release it. Probably the hardest thing, or bless and release is another way to put this, but release the old story. Don't hold on to it and go, oh, I'm just waiting for that to happen again. Man, I'm sure that's going to come back and bite me. It's not, unless you let it. I always mess this up. Or I'm becoming a leader who takes ownership. You can replace it like that. You can't go back in the past. You can't change it, but you can change your perspective and how you see it. And make a micro correction. Make a micro correction today. What's something that you didn't take ownership of last week? You said you were going to follow up with somebody. You said you were going to reach out to 10 people a day, and you didn't do it. So it's not, oh, I'm going to reach out to 10 people today. Reach out to one person today. Micro corrections is really the way to do it, because when you do micro corrections, that's what creates a very big habit that will lead to success. And this is, a little top on that is this I call the ownership reset. And so this is where you can identify one area today where you've avoided ownership and be honest about it. Decide the next immediate action that you can control to change it, not for you to reach out to somebody and say, hey, why didn't you do this? Or how can we do this? Like, it really comes down to what are you going to do, and do it today. Because if you do it fast, the faster you do it and the more frequency you do it in, the better you'll get faster. So, wrapping up. When you own your attitude, actions, habits, growth, and decisions, so you basically own everything that you can control and you release what you can't, you're going to step into the most powerful version of yourself, because you're going to look inside and go, okay, well, the reason that I'm where I am today is because of the things that I've done. I also believe, on another note, maybe another call, the people that you choose to surround yourself with is also who you will become. Because sometimes you can't stop influence from coming around. So that's why when I get into a company, I go, how do I get around people that are where I want to be? Not how do I hang out with my friends on a Friday night when they're all going out. And that is getting to events, getting to calls, getting around people that are going, okay, that's what I really want to do. And I'll give you a little secret on top of that. Ask yourself how you can go add value to their lives. So it's one of the secrets to how I've gotten to where I am today. It has nothing to do with me, maybe the choices I made, but I would always go, well, if if V is a black diamond, how do I get to sit next to him at the event? Just sit next to him. Like, how do I have maybe the row behind him? I don't know. How do I get there? Because I know it'll rub off. And this comes from the Tony Robbins days because, the seats at Tony Robbins in their front seat can upwards of be $85,000 a year. So I was strategized, how do we get close to that? And ended up being a volunteer for the Tony Robbins organization. Because when you're a volunteer for the Tony Robbins organization, you actually get to be around them and Tony more than anyone else ever will be. But you got to give up your time. You got to give up your money. You got to buy your own hotel room. You got to buy your own flights. It's purely volunteer and you barely get fed. And so that's the little nugget for today is if you really want to get close to somebody, go, how do I add value to their lives? How can I help them even when you might have little? It's not about money. The ways that I help people is I made PowerPoints for people. I would go, yeah, want to make you PowerPoint? Want to make you a graphic? All right, cool. I still do that today. If you see graphics and PowerPoints and all that kind of stuff coming out, I still do that because it's an easy way for me to add value. But the way that you add value might be completely different. And adding value has to be something that you give away freely and don't expect it back. Because I think sometimes, and I catch myself in this too, I'm like, I've done so much for that person. I didn't get anything in return. Yeah, you did. You got experience, you got information, you got all these different things. I heard Keith do his Power Hour a couple of days ago, talked about Jeff Bezos and how Amazon, they just got information and made no money for years. And now they're where they are because based off the information they gathered. And they didn't make money for years, and everyone called them crazy, and you can't sell books online and all this kind of stuff. So that's what it really comes down to. Acts of service. I see somebody put that in the chat there. So that's the topic today I really wanted to go through because, like I talked about in the beginning, if you own your path, if you own your future, you're going to own your own success no matter what. It's a guaranteed way to have success, whether it's in business or outside. Because when you own everything that we talked about today that you do own, not things and all the other stuff, you're going to be able to change anything right now. Like right now, it's January 23rd. I'm going to date this call. And you might be in a place where you're like, man, I'm not going to hit my goals this month. I wanted to be better. I wanted to have more. I wanted to be at a different position. I wanted to be able to be whatever it is. Well, just be in a place that you go, I am that. What would I have to do to be where I want to go? And whether that's talking to more people, I mean, Keith said it best too. Go to your support team. Go, hey, what can I do better? I'm being vulnerable with you. What am I doing that I'm missing that I could do better? Because once you do that, you're going to have everything you want. You can't chase things. You can only create action. And that's what leadership and ownership are really the exact same thing. So with that, everybody, I hope you have an amazing, amazing day. I hope this added value to you in some way, shape, or form. And, again, plug into these calls, listen to the podcast. The reason that we put so emphasis on this, and some people might look at this and go, I don't need that. That might be a little clue. Maybe you do need it more. I know I did. I know I haven't listened to the AM Powers a lot. I haven't been able to do that because I'm working at 7 a.m. in the morning, but that's an excuse. I can listen to it while I'm working and do it that way too. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. I almost said evening. I don't even know what time's going in. But if you want to come off mute, say hi, and we can end the day with some community and saying hi, everybody.
Have a blessed weekend.
Thanks, James.
Thank
you all.
Thank you.
Really good.
Take care. Have a blessed weekend
Everybody looks
from
so good
Mama
on
Diamond
here.
from
You was on fire this morning, Jay.
Y'all take care.
Great job, James. Super nugget.
Thanks, James.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Wonderful
Awesome
Great
presentation,
training,
James.
James.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Training.
Hello,
Great
sir.
job,
James, have a good
Thank you,
one, brother.
bye.
All right, great job. Great job.
Hello. Hello,
Great
sir.
training.
Have a good morning, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you, James. Blessings to you and your family.
Thank you.